Thank you for joining us. We are here today to kind of tackle some of the topics that come up that you probably didn't learn in school as part of being a young adult that you're kind of getting thrown into and that you're supposed to figure out how somehow on your own. But our whole reason for this topical exchange is to kind of answer those questions that come up and our first one is going to be all about real estate. A lot of us we graduate from college, we get into a job, and we're not quite sure what to do with some of that money. And so we have invited Laura to share her expertise as a financial educator and real estate agent. And we're really excited to hear what she has to say. We also have Jamie, Josh, and Perry here to ask good questions and to talk to us. And so we're really excited to do this. And this whole series is called Adulting from the Ground Up. Kind of went with the Adulting 101, just to give you just a safe place to ask questions. One of the things that I put in my discovery email when I was inviting folks to come to this share is that this is a safe place to ask any question that you have. There are no dumb questions. There are things that we need answers to, and it's kind of scary. You can Google things, but it's so much better to have someone who can kind of be that expert and journey with you. Anyway, so I am Emily Wycpalek, owner of Ground Up Insurance, and welcome to Adulting from the Ground Up.
Perfect. Emily, thank you so much. I am very excited to be with you guys this afternoon to share a little bit about Adulting 101 when it comes to purchasing your first home and kind of tapping into that real estate market. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. But before I do that, I really just want to hear from you guys. As you guys are joining today, yes, you may have been coaxed into it slightly with Jamie. Mom, what are you getting me into? And then tag Josh, if I have to do it, you have to do it too. Okay. And then roping in your friends to get them along. Let's just real quickly. Tell me a little bit about what you guys are looking to get out of it today.
Okay. I think what I'm looking to get out of it is really just like how to even enter the real estate market. As somebody who's, like you said, like we're just starting out, we're starting to earn and stuff. I really want to understand like what kind of property is best to buy right now. Is it a good time? Is it a good time to buy? Buying versus renting, and like assistance for like first time buyers. What does that look like? Things like that.
Those are really great questions. Those are really good questions. Okay. Josh, what about you?
I think for me, the biggest thing I'm interested in, definitely echo a lot of the same stuff as Perry, but very interested as far as property management. If I want to get into rental properties, and I know it's all location, but if the good locations are far from me, how do I manage those properties? In person versus property manager versus whatever else.
Very nice. If you can master the property management side of things, you are golden. And I will tell you, my mom, to just quickly answer the question, but not fully answer it. How do you manage properties when you're not close to them? My mom has properties in Minnesota, Dallas, and California, and she is now retired and travels the US in her RV. So she is not close to her properties at all. So to answer your question, it can be done. How do you do it? There's a lot of different ways. So we can, if we have time at the end of it, we can touch on some of those ways that you can do it. All right, Jamie, what about you, girl?
I don't really have any specific, more just, I guess, the basics of real estate in general. Just everything basic. I don't have any in-depth questions.
Perfect. All right. So this morning, we're going to spend some time talking about buying your first home The goal of this is to do it without you feeling like you are going to absolutely lose your mind because you're feeling completely lost in the process or feeling completely lost on where to even start. So throughout this, we're going to answer some really basic questions. How do I even start? What do I need to consider? Who do I need to partner with? So we're going to kick it off with really the most important part here is why buy a home? So what I want to hear from you guys first is why do you think it's important to buy a home versus rent a home?
I guess because it acts more as an investment rather than just giving your money away, as my mom always says.
Yes, because if you're renting a home, do we get any of that money back? Does somebody give you a return and say, thanks for renting from me for the last 12 months? I'm going to reimburse you for the last 12 months. Probably not. So what I want you guys to do is throw out a number. And Josh, I know you're in Charlotte, so I would be curious to hear how much on average, and there's no right or wrong answer, but how much on average do you think people spend on rent every month?
Over here, it's probably about 1,700, I would guess.
Okay.
Yeah, in Houston, I would say it's probably similar, like 15 to 1,700 for like a one-bedroom apartment.
Wow. Okay. So we're talking on average, maybe 800 to 1,000 square feet for a one bedroom, maybe a two bedroom apartment. I want you guys to pull out a calculator really quick and let's just play with the middle number. Let's do 1,600. If I paid $1,600 during a 12-month lease, so 1,600 times 12, what does that come out to?
Around
20,000.
Yes, you guys, that is just about $20,000 that you guys handed to somebody else, and you will never see that $20,000 again. So the question is, why buy a home? And you were spot on because it acts as an investment. So purchasing a home helps you build your wealth earlier. It creates long-term financial stability, and that monthly payment turns into an investment in your future. So let's start with a couple of quick terms to know before we get started. Because in real estate, it is quickly turning into a whole separate language that sometimes we feel like we need to learn. So let's go here first. Real quickly, what's a pre-approval?
It's when they like run a credit check and like pre-approve you for like a loan. So it's like based on your credit, you can get a loan for a certain amount of money to buy a house.
You got it. You guys, you work with a lender, and the lender gives you a budget. He basically is giving you a letter that says you can purchase a home up to X amount of money. So he may say you can borrow up to 300,000, 500,000, or $1 million. But that letter is going to be crucial because it's going to help you determine what is your budget when it comes to purchasing a home. I always joke with people that say, oh, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? And everybody can spend hours debating of which one came first, the chicken or the egg. But when it comes to real estate, what comes first? You need to know your budget first before you do anything else. It's not going to be any fun if you're shopping in a $2 million price point when really your budget is at 500,000. So knowing your budget first is the easiest thing here. So there's no debate, no chicken before the egg before the chicken. When it comes to real estate, what happens first? You always get a pre-approval so you know where your budget is at. Now, part of that is going to include a down payment. But what is a down payment? Well, a down payment, depending on the type of loan that your lender is going to tell you to take, your down payment can be anywhere from 3% to 20%. Now, the key here is, you guys, the more you can put down, the less you have to borrow, which means the less interest you're going to pay on that loan, and you're going to save extra money on something else that I'll share with you here in just a second. A second part of this budget is going to include closing costs, which is separate than your down payment. Your down payment is money that you're putting towards your home. Your closing costs are going to be, in a nutshell, we call it the extra fees. I know nobody likes extra fees, but these are things that pay for your lender. It pays for your title fees. It pays for your insurance. And this all is done when you go to the closing table and sign for your house. On average, it's anywhere from 2 to 5% of your purchase price. So let's do simple math. If I was purchasing a $100,000 house, and we know that on average, it's 2 to 5%, about how much money would I need in closing costs?
About $2,000 to $5,000.
You got it. Simple math. Simple math. Now, tip here, this is a negotiable item. What I mean by that is your realtor can negotiate that instead of having you as the buyer pay for this, your realtor can negotiate that the seller who's selling the house pays for it for you. So that way you can purchase a home with less money. That way you put more money towards your down payment. So I'm going to pause there. How are we feeling about the difference between a down payment and your closing costs?
That's good. Makes sense.
All right, perfect. All right. Now, we often talk about rent. Rent is one amount. We said anywhere from $1,500 to $1,700 is what we see on average for a one-bedroom apartment. When you're working with a mortgage payment, it's not just you paying the loan and the interest. In addition to that, you have what we call an escrow. Your escrow account is included in that monthly mortgage payment. And your escrow account is a dedicated, separate account that is going to be paying for your taxes, so your property taxes, and your insurance. So really, when you think about a mortgage payment, it encompasses everything. So it's your loan. So we call it your principal. It's your interest. It's your property taxes, and it's your insurance. So think about it this way. Your escrow account is basically your wonderful third-party friend that is paying multiple payments for you. Your property taxes, your insurance, your principal, and your interest all together. And this is all included in your mortgage payment. All right, now throughout the home buying process, we have a couple of things that happen at certain times throughout the process. The first one is a home inspection. What do you guys think they do during a home inspection?
Inspect the home.
Yes. Okay, but look, what are they looking for?
Damages, things that are wrong.
Yes.
Home.
Specifically, they're checking the home's condition. So the big key items here is they're looking for plumbing, electrical, and any roof damage. Because the property that you're investing in, they want to make sure that you know exactly what you're purchasing. Are you purchasing a home with major plumbing issues? Are you purchasing a home that just had all of the electrical updated? Are you purchasing a home that may need a new roof in the next 5 to 7 years? So a home inspection is fantastic because it lets you know exactly what type of home you're purchasing.
If you find like something delinquent from that inspection, how much of that kind of is enforceable to the seller? Like how much can you go back to the seller and use that as leverage to kind of get your price down?
Great question. A home inspection can be used to renegotiate the terms of the home that you're purchasing. It doesn't always mean that you're renegotiating the price of the home. Sometimes that negotiation can be, please repair the plumbing before I proceed with purchasing. Sometimes it can say, please provide $3,000 to $5,000 additional funds to go towards repairing the new roof. So it's not always a renegotiation on the price of the home. What you're doing is negotiating how the major items are going to be repaired before the purchase continues. Does that help?
That does help. I was gonna, I guess, as a follow up, is all that legally enforceable if you have it like as written in the buyer's contract?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And during that renegotiation period after the home inspection, if the sellers decide to say, no, we know the plumbing is awful and nothing in the house works with the plumbing, and you ask them to repair it, if the sellers say, no, we don't want to do that, at that time, you legally have the right to terminate the contract and not proceed with purchasing the home. So you, during that renegotiation, if the two parties do not come together with how to repair or to remedy the issue, then you can terminate the contract. Josh, does
Cool.
that help clarify?
Yeah, thank you.
Perfect. Good question. So later on in the process, this almost happens right before you sign for your new house. Let's say that you're purchasing a house at $500,000. An appraiser is going to go in there and they're going to do an appraisal on the home. Now, this is important because do you want to purchase a home at $500,000 when it may only be worth $200,000? Your answer is probably no. If it's only worth $200,000, why would I spend $500,000 on it? So an appraiser is going to go in there and they're going to drop an official report on the home's value. This is key for the lender who's giving you the mortgage, because the lender also does not want you to purchase a home at $500,000 when it may only be worth $200,000. Why do you think it's important for the lender to know that your home is worth the amount that you're paying?
So that if you default, they can sell the house at auction, get their money back.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Josh. You got it. Yes, because if anything goes wrong with the mortgage, the lender wants to know that they are securing their funds to retrieve their funds and get it back.
I think a lot to do with market is how much you're willing to pay for a home. So if you fell in love with something, you may end up paying more than it's worth. So with an appraisal, you sort of get, the lender also knows that you know that that home's going to be worth a certain amount and grow into that market so that it means something to you. So it's not something you would just walk away from. So it's not only about ensuring the value, it's about making sure that you as the future owner of that home see the value that it's going to lend to you later.
Absolutely. And you know what, Emily, you make a great point, because this actually recently happened in our market. Do you guys know what year the market where you found buyers paying over the home's value? Do you guys remember what year?
I think around like COVID, so 2020, 2022, like housing prices like really spiked.
Yes, absolutely. So right after COVID, everybody was home and then everybody was selling, and then there was a shortage of homes. So then people who were wanting to buy, because it was COVID, everybody was spending more time at home and realized, well, now I need a bigger home, or now I want a different home, or I want to be in a different area. During this time, people were putting offers in 30, 40, 50, $100,000 over the asking price, which is absolutely fine. But in those cases, what we're going to use is a appraisal waiver, which means, going back to our scenario, if the home is only worth 200,000, but you as the buyer are willing to pay 500,000, there's going to be an appraisal waiver that states whatever that difference is, you as the buyer are willing to pay that cash difference. So in that, our scenario of the 200 versus 500, with that appraisal waiver, how much would we have to come to the table with? If my home's only worth
1,000.
You got it. You got it. Yep, my home's only
So-
worth 200,000, but I'm willing to pay 500. I'd have to pay the gap difference.
So just to like clarify, in this scenario, the lender would give you the 200,000 and you would have to pay the 300 out of pocket, essentially.
Back. Yes.
Okay.
Exactly. Exactly. I'm using a really extreme scenario. What I typically see if we run into this, you're probably talking anywhere from a $5,000 to a $10,000 difference in most cases. The scenario we used was really drastic to really illustrate what's happening, but on average, it's only a couple $1,000s when people are put in that scenario.
On the appraisal as well, I was going to ask, do you have a idea, like typically, what a difference would be between, or like what the average difference between list price and appraisal price would be? Are they usually one and the same, or is there usually like a plus or minus difference or anything like that?
You're typically going to be pretty spot on with the appraisal. Most appraisals will go through and the appraiser will say, yes, it appraises at the value that they're purchasing at. It's going to make it really challenging for somebody to sell a house over what it's appraised at. So in most cases, yes, the appraiser comes in and they simply verify, yes, the home appraises at the price point that they're purchasing at. One of the last key things that we're going to talk about when it comes to the knowledge is the title insurance. Really, you guys, title insurance is there to protect you. It's there to protect your lender. When you purchase a home, just like you purchase a car, your name is on the title of your car. Well, in a house scenario, your name is on a deed. So deed is very similar to title. So a title company is going to have title insurance that protects you and the lender, saying that nobody else later on down the road can come knock on your front door and say, hey, I'm actually the one who owns this home. Title is going to put title insurance on there saying that they have done the research. Nobody else owns this home. So that way, when you purchase it and your name goes on the title, it's showing that you are legally the new owner and nobody can come to knock on your door later down the road and say, hey, I'm claiming I own this property. So title insurance is a key factor. This is one of the small dollar amounts that get added into your monthly mortgage. Okay, so this is part of your insurance. All right, I'm going to pause there. Any thoughts or questions on any of some of the terminology as we're thinking about a whole new language when it comes to real estate? We good so far?
Yes.
Perfect. All right. So going forward, there's really 3 things that I want to share with you guys. As you're entering into the real estate market for the first time, how do you find a realtor? No, it doesn't just mean you go find the first name or you take your aunt's best friend's husband's cousin's wife as your realtor. So how do you really put effort into finding a realtor to work with you? We're going to talk about some tips when it comes to really understanding what your budget is for purchasing a home, and then what questions to ask before you just absolutely fall in love with those granite countertops and you just have to have this home because of those granite countertops. So really, what questions to ask, what to look for when purchasing a home. So the first one I want to talk about is how to find a realtor. Now, how many of you guys, let's take a look at this picture really quick. How many of you guys have ever used a GPS to get from one place to another? Take yourself
Only
off
way
mute.
I
All the
don't
time.
get
Yes.
lost.
Oh my, I think we've all been lost once or twice. Okay. Now we may all have a different type of map. Some of us may use Google Maps, Apple Maps, Waze. And you know what? When you think about it, they all essentially do the same job. They get us from point A to point B. They might just all operate slightly different. Well, you guys think about a real estate agent as your GPS. We all do the same thing. We get you from point A to point B. So in your scenario, it might be, I want to go from renting to purchasing a home. Josh, you mentioned going from having no rental properties to having multiple rental properties down the road. A realtor is your GPS through the real estate market. So partnering with a real estate agent is going to be key to making sure that you safely and efficiently get from one point to another point and having them navigate and show you along the way. But we may all do things a little bit differently. We may all look a little different. The way we market, the way we communicate, the way we interact, the way we find our homes, the way that we advertise ourselves. We all operate just a little differently. So what do you need to know about finding a realtor? The first and most important thing is do your research. The number one question I ask people is, how did you find your realtor? And some of the most common answers are, oh, I just found them on realtor.com. I found them on Zillow. It was my aunt's cousin's friend. I felt obligated to use my aunt because she's family. But finding your realtor, your person to help you navigate the real estate market is such an important part of purchasing your first home. So do your research. Google them. What Google reviews do they have? Do they even have any Google reviews? I hope so. Check out their social media. Get an idea of who they are as a person, how they market themselves, what areas, what side of town do they typically work in. Read those reviews. Talk to people. See how active they are, because Josh, you mentioned you're in Charlotte right now. Are you working with a realtor that is going to be knowledgeable in the Charlotte area? Do the research. You can ask for referrals because we are asking referrals from somebody we probably know, trust, and like. And the odds of them referring us to somebody that they also know, trust, and like are pretty high. However, don't forget to vet them yourself. So friends and families may have the recommendations, but you can't just blindly trust. So make sure to schedule time with that realtor to interview them. You're the one purchasing the home, not the realtor. So it is your job to interview that real estate agent. You want them to have the skill sets. You want them to have the personality that's going to work well with you. because you are going to be communicating with them a lot throughout the next 30 to 60 days with purchasing a home. I always say do things in 3, decorate in 3, interviewing 3s. Do things in 3s. You're not being rude by interviewing a realtor or interviewing more than one realtor. And I promise you, if a realtor takes offense to you interviewing them, red flag, run the other way. Interviewing your realtor is going to be huge because you guys will be spending a significant amount of time together throughout the next 30 to 60 days. You can even test their communication early on. Send them a text, give them a call. Did they respond to your text message? How long did it take? 2 minutes or 2 hours or 2 weeks? How quickly are they responding to you? Are they clear and helpful? Because you want somebody that's going to have clear communication and a timely response, because if it's not timely, you can lose out on a home. You can miss very important deadlines that can impact the contract that you are currently in with purchasing a home. So timely and clear communication is huge. In dating, we may get ghosted, but in real estate, that's going to be a very costly mistake. The last piece of advice I would give with finding a realtor is find somebody who matches your vibe. You guys want to have fun. You want to enjoy the process along the way. So sit down with them, text them, call them, get to know them before you sign a representation agreement with that realtor. A representation agreement means that your realtor can talk about real estate on your behalf with negotiating prices on a home. Okay, so before you sign that representation agreement, make sure it's somebody you want to partner with. I'm going to pause here. Thoughts or questions on finding a realtor?
I wanted to add just a little bit here, just because I've been in this aspect before, where I kind of went with someone who was a friend when I was buying my first home. And it was a lot of fun. I had an idea of what I wanted my home to look like. I had someone who kind of let me go down a road I probably shouldn't have gone down, just because I was so excited. I wanted to buy a historic house. I have these like whole things of grandeur of buying this, house in the Monte Vista district here in San Antonio. And I was so excited about it. But I also had a price point, and they let me travel down some scary roads. Just saying. So,
Yes.
and they didn't always respond to me really quick. And then we changed real estate agents after a while because we weren't getting the response we needed. And mind you, no cell phones at the time, guys. But I had someone, I know, thanks, Josh. I like the eyes. But what was really nice is anytime I called and I wanted to see a house just on a fluke of, something that I found on my own, um, she would schedule the appointment and take us right away. So it was like what was important to us was important to her. And so it was really nice because we were 20-0. And so we kind of didn't know what we were doing, and she really guided us through it.
Yes. Emily, I love that you brought that up, because when I purchased my first home, my realtor is one that I think about today, because the realtor I had was very transparent and very honest. When we walked into a home and she felt that it wasn't a good fit, she would tell us, this isn't a good fit. This isn't a good investment for you. And she would educate us on why it was a good investment or why it would not be a good investment. So you're absolutely right. Make sure that the person that you're choosing to partner with to do your real estate transactions is a good fit. And if it's not at one point a good fit anymore, you can terminate that relationship and find another real estate agent.
I do have one little story I want to tell you. So our real estate agent stayed with us through the whole process. We're in the middle of moving and we had a truck. And so we had bought this, like our first major purchase was a mattress and frame set that we were so excited about. And so we put it in the back of the truck, and of course it fell out and got hit by an 18-wheeler. So our first major purchase that was supposed to go into our house, we no longer had. Our real estate agent actually got us a mattress set for when we first moved in. From the amount of commission that she made on that. And it completely changed our view because we were so excited about moving in there, and then to have this smush, and it was on the road. It was on I-10 for quite a while. It was a very sad thing to pass by the smushed mattress.
You know what? Some of the best gifts that you get with purchasing home come from your real estate agent because you spend so much time with them within those 30 to 60 days that they know exactly what you need and what you're going to want during that first experience with purchasing a home. So let's talk about knowing your budget. It's important to know what can you afford versus what do I really want to afford? So Emily, going back to you really wanted this historic house in this ideal historic neighborhood. But what can we afford versus what do we really want to afford? And we're always going to be faced with that. We're probably faced with that when it comes down to purchasing a car. What can we afford versus what do we want to afford? Going back to my scenario earlier, what comes first, the chicken or the egg or the chicken? Well, when it comes to real estate, there is absolutely no question. What comes first? It is your pre-approval that tells you what your budget is. Now, with that being said, if it says your budget is $300,000, that doesn't mean go out and buy a $300,000 house. That's telling you what the max amount of money you can borrow. But there's so much more to take into consideration. We probably go out to eat. We probably have car payments. We probably have other daily expenses, monthly expenses. Like Emily, we're in an age of cell phones. We all now have cell phones, so we pay a monthly amount for a cell phone. We need to take all of that into consideration. So being honest with what we pay every month and where we're comfortable living at and paying every month. So pre-approval tells you the max, but being honest with ourselves about what payments we're going to be most comfortable with, knowing everything else that we pay on a daily or on a monthly basis. Second tip with knowing your budget. Factor in more than just your mortgage. Earlier, we talked about it's not just about the principal and interest. It's also including our taxes and our insurance. What was the name of that third-party account that pays our taxes and our insurance? Do you guys remember?
Escrow?
Yes, you got it. Your escrow account. So your escrow account pays for your taxes and your insurance, and sometimes can even include a monthly homeowners association if you have one. For short, we refer to them as an HOA. So what this means is we may think we can afford $2,000 a month, but really when it comes down to our mortgage payment, we may really want to be considering something closer to $1,600. So getting pre-approved early, it's not just for you, but it's also for the sellers to show that you as a buyer who's making an offer on their house, you are a serious buyer because you've got your pre-approval letter. And a tip here, you have choices when it comes to working with a realtor. You also have choices when it comes to which lender you want to work with. So earlier, we asked a question of, Well, what programs are out there for first-time home buyers? The answer, there's several programs out there. There's grants available. Just like when you guys are applying for college scholarships, college grants, when it comes to purchasing a home, grants are available as well. Great example, today I just had first-time home buyers get pre-qualified, so they have their pre-approval letter in hand, and they qualified for a $7,500 grant that they can use towards their down payment and their closing costs, which means that's $7,500 that they do not have to use out of their own bank account. So I'm going to pause there. Thoughts or questions around the first-time homebuyer program and grant?
How do you know whether there's like, is there a common database or something to find like what kind of programs are out there? Emily was talking about how there's different ones on like a federal level and a state level, but where do you go to find that information?
Great question. Your local bank will be a great place to start because they will have access to both the government level and the state level because they will vary from state to state. You can also work with new home builders. They also have programs available. Now, as far as a common database goes, no, there's not one that I would highly recommend to say, hey, go here to see all of them. However, Googling in just your local area or working with your realtor oftentimes has lenders that they primarily work with, and they can send you a recommendation on which lenders have the most programs available. So for example, I have about 2 or 3 lenders within my network, but there's one lender that I refer when I know that somebody is working to repair credit. There's another lender that I know that does really good with investment properties, so rental properties. The third lender is really good with working with my first-time home buyers because they have a wealth of knowledge around the programs that are available. So my recommendation, check with your realtor first because their skills and their knowledge within that market is going to help lead you to the lenders that have those programs and grants available.
How much of this budgetary factor, I guess, as far as motivating someone to get a home, is influenced by market factors like the subprime rate?
Here's my experience. Most people who are renting today feel that they can't purchase a home because they have to have $20,000, $30,000 down on a house. And they're not aware of the new home build incentives. They're not aware of the first-time home buyer programs. So things like what we're doing today. So Emily, thank you. Because having moments like this where we're talking about it, we have a safe space to ask questions. This is where the education, the knowledge comes into play, where we start to really, as realtors, share what is available, what can you do, how can you make your money work for you. It's less about what's happening in the market. People will say rates are too high right now. But honestly, rates were significantly higher 15 years ago, 20 years ago, and people were still purchasing homes, and people are still purchasing homes today. So does the market play a factor? It probably drives a little bit of it. It probably speeds it up, slows it down a little bit, but it doesn't stop people from buying or selling a home. Life happens. People outgrow houses. People move. People still need to buy and sell. But most people who are renting, they think it's because they can't. And this is where the education comes into play. Does that help answer, Josh?
It does. I guess a lot of that goes with feeling like you can't buy is the notion of cheaper to rent versus cheaper to buy, right? People are focused on what's
Oh,
cheaper.
yeah. And my response to that is cheaper to buy, cheaper to rent. Well, what's the first thing we need to do? Get pre-approved. And my pre-approval is my max. Purchase under your max. Purchase under your day-to-day living means. Because then you're giving yourself and actually, Josh, that kind of leads us down to number 5, thinking long term, not just the now. So thinking long term, cheaper to buy, cheaper to rent. If you buy under your means, you're in a position to where you can afford the home if your job changes. If you lose that roommate that's been paying you rent, if your property taxes increase, which by the way, if your property taxes increase, sometimes that's a great thing because that means the value of your home is going up. So keeping that in mind of cheaper to buy, cheaper to rent, it really starts with when you purchase a home. Are you thinking about your budget? Are you thinking about it today, or are you thinking about it long term? So my recommendation, buy well under your means, play it safe, because then you know you have flexibility in your budget today and years from now, and you're in a comfortable mortgage spot. All right, well, let's move forward and let's talk about what to look for, okay? Here is my recommendation. Look beyond the decor. If you guys take a look at this photo right now, what's the first thing you notice about this house?
The door and the awning.
Yes.
The little
For some of us,
bushes.
yes, yes, yes. Some of us may see the walkway, the green grass. Some of us may love the front door. Some of us may love the idea that there's a front porch, or wow, look at all those windows and that natural light. It may just look, oh my gosh, wow, it's so updated, it's so beautiful, it's so new, it's so fancy. Look beyond the decor. People stage houses and they're professional stagers. That's their job. Their job is to sell you on the decor. But look beyond that. Look beyond all those Pinterest vibes. What's trending on Instagram? What's trending in life right now? Look beyond it. Because I promise you, it is the cute decor, the furniture, it's not included. What you really want to focus on is the layout of the house, the light that's coming into that house. Because the natural light is going to be great with your electricity bill because it's less lights. But the natural light, the windows, are they double paned? Are you going to be paying less in electricity or more in electricity with the type of windows that are in there? Look at the storage, the structure of it. Do you see a lot of cracks? Was there a lot of repairs, paint jobs that were done to try and hide mistakes? So look beyond the decor. We're not just looking at the cute furniture, the trendy pillows, that really cute rug that's by the front door, the fact that the front door is blue. We're looking at things that we can't change, like the layout, the storage, the structure of the house. Look at the bones, not the beauty. So this is where that home inspection comes in. Your home inspection is going to look for foundation, water damage. They're going to look at the plumbing, the electrical. But you can also be aware of things that when you're looking at a home for the first time. But really my tip here is if something feels off, trust your gut. We all trust our gut, and we've been doing it for years. Which college to go to, which job to take, where to move to, which car to buy, who to hang out with, who not to hang out with. We've been trusting our gut for years, and purchasing a home is the exact same thing. Trust your gut. And then scout out the neighborhood. Here is something that most people do not do. The real estate agent takes them over to the house for the first time. They think it's absolutely beautiful. They buy the house, they live in the house, and they start having to drive to that house every single day to and from work on weekends. And they realize, oh, I don't like this area. Maybe it's a party street. Maybe the street lights are shining right into your bedroom window. Maybe your neighbors don't take care of their house. So think about your commute and the location. How many of you guys have heard the location, location, location?
Definitely.
Yeah, probably all of us. One of the things that you can help with that location, location, location is scout out the neighborhood. I'd recommend doing it at different times of the day and doing it different times of the week. That way you get an idea of what the neighborhood is like, what your drive time, your commute is going to look like. And see, are there restaurants? Check out restaurants, check out gyms, check out hangout spots around that area to see what your daily lifestyle is going to look like with living in that location.
So our second house that we bought, we had a train track. behind us. And they definitely did not show us the home during the time
Yes.
that the train would pass by. I would say that they even time blocked that space so no one got to see that home. But we got used to it. But yes, we had a train track that would shake the whole house every once in a while.
Yes.
I
And that's a
appreciated
cute.
it.
Ah,
I mean,
you could sleep through the night. You could sleep through anything. One piece of advice, and this will be different for every one of us, is know what your must-haves versus it would be nice to have. And when I say know this, I'm saying write it down. Write it down. Your top 5 must-haves. You must have a kitchen that is close to the garage. So that way it's easy for you to carry groceries in. Your must-have is an ideal location. Your must-have is how many bedrooms. Your must-have should always include your budget. And then have your nice-to-have. I would like to have a gas stove versus electric. I would like to have a 2-car versus 1 car. So know what your must-haves versus your nice-to-haves are. That way when you get in and you're looking at house number 3, 4, 5, 6, and they all start to become a blur, you can always go back to your must-have versus your nice-to-have, and you can start really breaking it down and comparing the homes to one another. Another fun trick, and I love this one, is every house that you guys see, give it a fun nickname. It starts to give the houses personality. You start to connect with the houses, and it makes it easier when it comes time to make that decision on which house you choose. So some of the names that I've picked, this one I just put in here because this past weekend, I nicknamed a house the Orange House. No, the house wasn't painted orange. But this house had a really cool, modern, yet old school 70s vibe, but the fireplace was orange. So I called it the Orange House. I was helping an investor look at a new investment property, and we pulled up to it, and the whole house was bright sunflower yellow. Not a cute color, but it got nicknamed the Sunflower House. So come up with nicknames. It'll help during conversations with your realtor about which house you like and why you like it or why you don't like it. So the nicknames are a fun way for you to connect with the house. So I'm going to pause there. What thoughts or questions do you guys have?
Laura, one of the things that I always heard is that if you were going to invest or like you wanted to see someone do some work on a house that you were going to purchase, that it's kitchens and bathrooms is where it's a good idea to invest money, and not like necessarily like the best floors or the, the color that they painted the wall or chair rails and that kind of.
Yeah. Um, Josh, I'm going to kind of lean into talk about two things at one time, because you focused a lot on property management. How do I find properties that I may want to invest money in and they would be good rental properties for me? When you're doing property management, there's two ways that you can go. You can do property management where you're the landlord and you're keeping that property for the next 30, 50 years, and you've got renters coming in and out of it. Those, I would say, are going to be location and bedrooms versus bathrooms. That's going to get you the most bang for your buck. So the location and the bedrooms and bathrooms. It's not always going to be about how pretty it is. But the other side of investing into properties is I'm buying a house, fixing it up, and then my plan is to sell it either immediately or in the next 3 to 5 years. There, you're going to want to put your money into bathrooms and kitchens. Bathrooms and kitchens will always get you the most money back in your pocket. Okay. My recommendation, don't paint your house sunflower yellow. That is a very specific color, and not everybody's going to love that. So if you are doing that for a rental property, don't do it. If you're doing it because you're flipping a house and turning to sell it for profit, don't paint it bright sunflower yellow. Stay neutral. Something that is going to appeal to a variety of people. But on the property management side, rentals, the location and the bedrooms and bathrooms is going to be key. If you're flipping it for an investment, I'm fixing it up and I'm selling it nicer for higher money, kitchens and bathrooms will always be where you get your money back. Also, carpet, you guys, carpet in general, don't do carpet. If you're using it as a rental property, you're always going to have to replace it after every set of renters. It's just a constant string of money you're dishing out. Also, if you're doing it for flipping it, when you're showing that property that you just put all this work and money into and you want to sell it for a higher profit, people are walking through your house and they're walking all over your brand new carpet. No carpet. No carpet. People can lay rugs later on if they want to. Okay. Okay, so we started off the morning with how do you enter into the real estate market? To sum that up, how do you enter? There is no question between the chicken and the egg here, or the egg or the chicken. What do we always do first?
Approval.
Pre-approval. Always know your budget. Get your pre-approval early. If you don't know where to go for a pre-approval or what programs are available to you for a first-time homebuyer, always check with your realtor. Okay. Do I just get to pick a realtor off of realtor.com or Zillow.com? How many should we ideally interview?
2 or 3. Hey, Laura, I had a question on that as well.
Yes.
So like, say I'm trying to get something in Charlotte, would it be, if I had 3 options, if I had a downtown Charlotte townhome, a suburban home, and a rural like plot of land, would that be 3 different specialties, or would that be one realtor that is special in like the Charlotte area?
You could potentially find a realtor that is skilled enough in all areas. I will say finding that realtor who's skilled in all of those areas is going to be challenging. So you may want to do more interviews to really find somebody with that skill set. But ideally, people will either do residential, construction, or commercial. And what you're talking about with finding a plot of land, that tends to lean towards construction and commercial. I will say if you're looking into getting into the rental, the property management side, a townhome or a condo is a really good one to go. They're always easy to rent. You never have to worry about the maintenance because you do pay typically a higher monthly HOA, but they take care of all of the exterior and you don't have to worry about any outside maintenance, which is great for you as a property manager all you have to worry about is making sure that the inside is good to go.
And on that, from an insurance perspective, especially if you're in a townhome and it's a center townhome, you're sharing those two walls. So you are only responsible for studs in. So like the sheetrock and that kind of thing. So if something happened, the bones of it are actually something that you share with the whole townhome. So not just the people next to you, but the whole townhome and the roof. But every affiliation can be a little bit different.
Yeah. Which essentially means less responsibility for you financially. Yeah. So for Josh, I would say definitely condos, townhomes would be ideal for you if you want to go the property management, or even if you want to purchase it as your own primary residence. And then if your job in Charlotte takes you somewhere else, then keep that one and rent it out. That would be a really smart way to get started with property management. You had a question earlier about how do I manage it if I'm not around? Let's say hypothetically you go from Charlotte and you come to San Antonio. You could hire a property management company. They typically take a percentage of the rent. So as long as you get into your townhome with a good mortgage payment, you can rent it higher than what your mortgage payment is. Just give yourself about a 10% difference that would go to your property management company. So, Jamie, for you, you asked, how do I get into it? How do I get into this? I think we summed it up with, you start with getting your pre-approval and knowing your budget and interviewing realtors. Okay. Perry, how are you feeling?
Pretty good. I think my biggest question was about like first-time home buyer stuff, which you covered. So
I'll leave you guys with two things. One, homes on average go up in value 7 to 12% every year. So Emily's story that she just shared, she bought it for $50,000. It's now worth $450,000. The second thing I'll leave you with is people ask, when is a good time to buy? When is a good time to sell? My answer, when you're ready. When you're ready, because the longer you wait, the longer you rent versus buy, just know you're renting and giving your money to somebody else while somebody else is buying and they're waiting for their property to go and raise up in value. And it's on average 7 to 12% every year. So every year that you wait, you're losing 7 to 12% of the value on a house that could be going towards your wealth. So if you guys have any questions, I would love to be a resource for you guys going forward. I do this for multiple reasons. One, I love teaching. It's something I love to do. I truly believe that when we have the knowledge, we feel empowered to make the decisions that are going to be best for us. So I would love to continue to stay connected with you guys. If you guys are following me on Instagram, please feel free to send me a message. You can also shoot me a text message. My phone number and my email are both on my social media page, so whichever you prefer. And then the second reason I do this is because I love real estate. I love what I do, and I would love it if you guys know anybody or have anybody that has questions about real estate. Please let them know. I would love to be a resource for your friends and family. I will tell them, who else did you interview? Because I'll be checking. Did you tell them to interview 2 to 3 realtors? Okay. So no red flags here. Get interviewed. I want to be interviewed, and I would love to earn somebody's business. So with that, Emily, thank you for hosting today. Thank you for putting this together and connecting us. And you guys, it was a pleasure to see you guys today and meet with you.
Thank
Yeah.
you. So
Thank you
nice
so
to
much.
meet you.
Yes. All right.
Anyway, sorry we ran a little over, but thank you so much. I appreciate all of you, and I hope that you got something. I knew you'd get something really valuable out of this, even if you're not quite ready. That the $20,000 that you're paying in rent right now, that $20,000 could be something that you're building for your future. I work with a lot of military because we're in San Antonio, and I have a lot of military that every time they go into a new area, they buy a new house because they
Yes.
know they do not want to throw that money away.
Start small, you guys. If you think that you can't buy and that's why you're renting, my recommendation, start small. Start super small. You're going to be there 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. Doesn't matter. Start small because it's going to do nothing but go up.
And Nitya, this is super important. Just because you're getting your first time home buyers and you're giving it your first time, you don't have to wait for the perfect home to use that first time home buyers. That kind of gets you in that role because she was just talking about you can get your seller to pay $10,000 towards your closing cost, or even towards you can have that towards the amount that you're going to have off,
Right.
of the home. And that's super important. So don't feel like, oh my gosh, I only had this first time home buyers only once.
Yeah. When you go to sell that first home down the road, the amount of money you make off of that goes towards your next home. That's how people keep getting bigger. If you've ever gone through and you're like, how does somebody afford a $4.9 million home? This is how. They start small. They either keep all their properties and have rent money coming in, or they start small. They wait a few years for that to increase in price and they sell it for a major profit. And they buy larger and then they do the same thing and they repeat. So
You're good.
But
Anyway.
anyways, call me, text me, DM
Thank
me.
you so much.
if you guys have any questions.
Thank
Good luck on
you.
your closing, Laura. Or is it an
Yes,
open
thank
process?
you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Have
All
fun.
right, bye.
Bye.
Everybody, bye bye.
Bye.